Good morning, everybody. Please have a seat. The government has to do what families across this country have been doing for years. We can't just cut our way out of this hole. It's going to take a balanced approach. If we're going to make spending cuts, many of which we wouldn't make if we weren't facing such large budget deficits, then it's only right that we ask everyone to pay their fair share. That for us to solve this problem, everybody, including the wealthiest Americans and biggest corporations, have to pay their fair share. This is not class warfare. It's math. The money's going to have to come from someplace. And if we're not willing to ask those who've done extraordinarily well to help America close the deficit, and we are trying to reach that same target of $4 trillion, then the logic, the math says everybody else has to do a whole lot more. Our plan makes additional spending cuts that need to happen if we're to solve this problem. I will not support any plan that puts all the burden for closing our deficit on ordinary Americans. And I will veto any bill that changes benefits for those who rely on Medicare but does not raise serious revenues by asking the wealthiest Americans or biggest corporations to pay their fair share. We've got one of the highest corporate tax rates in the world, but it's riddled with exceptions and special interest loopholes. And it's also about fairness. It's about whether we are in fact in this together and we're looking out for one another. We know what's right. It's time to do what's right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
About it, and it seems like an important part of the plan that he's trying to emphasize.
Republicans and Democrats all agree that we have a long-term deficit problem, and we have to bring that down to earth. We all agree on the basic magnitude of the cuts and changes you're going to need over time, roughly $4 trillion over 10 years. Why $4 trillion? That's what you need to bring the deficits down to a level we can sustain over time, to a level where the debt as a share of the economy as a whole is no longer growing, stabilizes, starts to come down. The debate we're having is how best to do that. Our country more competitive and make sure that the most fortunate Americans are paying a greater share of their income in taxes. Europe's obviously under a lot of pressure, and they faced a lot of challenges, and it is affecting us. It's affecting confidence here and around the world, not just in Europe. And we have a huge stake as a country in helping them deal with those challenges. We have a huge economic stake, financial stake, and it is not in the interest of the United States for Europe to be weakened by a protracted economic and financial crisis. So we are working very closely with them and being very supportive, and as they try to craft a more effective strategy. You asked the question, is there political will there? I believe there is. It's not a question of the financial resources, the economic resources of that great continent. This is within their capacity to solve. And I think you will see the leaders of Europe do what they've been doing over the last several months and weeks, which is to try to reassure the world that they have the political will, not just the economic capacity to manage these challenges. And again, it's in the interest of the United States for them to do that. And we're going to fight to make sure that's part of what Congress considers and ultimately